I want to bring to order the August 27th, 2019 regularly scheduled board meeting for the Richland 2 Board of Trustees. If I can please have a motion to go into executive session.
I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing student appeals and student admission requests for the district's adult education.
Motion's been made by Dr. Caution Parker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Holmes. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote, please. Ooh, wait a minute. By accident. No. And motion passes 6 yes, 1 not present. We'll go into executive session at this time. Going to reconvene the August 27th, 2019 regularly scheduled board meeting for the Richland 2 Board of Trustees, where we went into executive session to discuss the items that were mentioned in the motion to go into executive session. At this time, I will have the inspirational moment and the Pledge of Allegiance. For the inspirational moment, we will have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. If we can now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, can I get some IT help with the phone? For some reason, it's not going through for Miss Mackey. Those of y'all that know I do IT for a living, don't laugh. Next on our agenda, we will have our approval of the agenda. If I can please have a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the agenda for the August 27th, 2019 board meeting.
Motion's been made by Ms. Agostini. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Holmes. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. I mean, that's the number, right? It's not long distance, it's local. I'm sorry, we're trying to get Ms. Mackey on the phone. She's remote and trying to dial in. Is that what we're waiting on, Tamika? Okay. Oh, she said it's okay. Hello? Hey, Ms. Mackey, there?
I'm here.
Okay. I know you have to drop off at some point, but can you, for the agenda, can you give me an aye or a nay?
Yes.
Okay, aye. Thank you. All right, just drop off whenever you need to, Ms. Mackey.
No problem. I'm going to mute you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah. All right, next on our agenda, we have the approval of the consent agenda. If I can have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Shad.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for August 27, 2019.
Motion's been made by Mr. Shad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mackey. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time.
I voted the affirmative.
Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have our public participation, item 6.1. I have no one signed up at this time, so we'll move on to item 7.1, our legislative update. No legislative update, so we'll move on to our executive session items. There's no items for 8.1, so 8.2, student admission requests into the district's adult education program. If I can have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Agostini.
I move to approve students 1 and 2 admissions request into the district's adult education program.
Motion's been made by Ms. Agostini. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Shad. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We'll have the vote.
I vote aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have item 9.1, an update on our capital improvement. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have before you this evening Mr. Will Anderson to provide you with the monthly update regarding capital improvement projects. Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Davis and members of the board. Mr. Kenyon is putting the slides up real quick, but it's our monthly update for you all, and go through it quickly and happy to answer any questions you may have. The work to date, our security projects, our 15 front entrances that we worked on this summer are near completion. We were waiting on the bullet-resistant glass and door and hardwares that have still not come in at this time. The dirty work's pretty much done. The walls are up, but we're waiting on that. We've had some good candid conversations with our contractor who's been doing that work, and so that should be hopefully done in the next few weeks and have them fully operational. Our IdentiKid, which is I misspelled that as IdentAKid, is our new software for our visitor management system. That is going through the process now of updating that. The key aspect of the IdentiKid is that it connects to PowerSchool, so it's much more wholesome, much more thorough of a vetting process for our staff that are at the door, logging people in. And thanks to Mr. Earls for his process of getting that installed. The roof replacements, we had our walkthrough meetings today with the principals and all the schools. Rice Creek will start in mid-September replacing that roof. That'll be about 8-month process. Dent and Condor will start mid-October. And once again, another 8-month process. Happy to report all 3 of those roof replacements came in under budget, so that's good news. HVAC design is about complete, and we'll start the HVAC updates on Killian, Bookman, and Rice Creek here in the very near future. This is Blythewood High School. We're in the process of, they're called DDs, design development documents. That's where we're really getting into much more details of the design for Blythewood High School. We've had the new way that the students and faculty and buses and all come in. There's been some bumps in the road. There's a lot of kids and people there, but thanks to Mr. Sherman and his staff and team for doing the best they can to make sure that this works. Just a few highlights I'll show you. This is what the back here with the new car rider entrance. Once it's done, for the public's sake, you can see this here. It actually gives more visitor parking and more of a loop up here. We will then relocate the bus loop again back to the back, and you can see it kind of another loop with the students remaining where they are. So that's what's going to happen. The reason we have moved the buses to the front now is because all this area back here needs to be for laydown for construction zone, and so I had to do some movement there. But thanks to everybody's patience during this process, you can see the 5th house on the end, the multi-purpose and classroom addition here, and the addition for the field house there on the end. So field house, multi-purpose, and 5th wing of Blythewood High School. And that is going fine and still on time and working through design development documents right now. These are just some renderings of CFK that I'll speak through while we're walking through this here. This is kind of CFK is also really getting through its plan as well. It is they're in design development with scheduled construction to start in January. This is kind of the plans for the building. The green is kind of your administrative, green is your multi-use spaces, library, multi-purpose room, science, art, et cetera. Purple is your admin spaces, and then your brown are your classroom spaces. And with your purple, I guess lighter purple being kind of your, and gray, your lighter purple, your mechanical, and your gray, your kind of collaborative learning space with areas and fenced around with outdoor learning and outdoor space. So those are actually moving along well, and they're doing great with the reduction of portables, and Mr. Bishton and Ms. Agee are working great together at those schools to have a good start to the school year. So it's on our way with that one. Our replacement schools, we have working through the Brookfield relocation of staff at Forest Lake Elementary. We've had multiple meetings just kind of really start the programming. We have our community meeting on September 3rd for Forest Lake at 6 p.m. It's at Forest Lake Elementary School. The public is invited to come and just give feedback on what they'd like to see at Forest Lake. We've just had a couple very small work that we've asked them, the architecture staff to do, just to kind of give an idea. And what you're seeing on the screen is, and I'll show for the board first, is on this side over here to the left is Brookfield Road. Whoops, my bad. Is Brookfield Road, and this is the road that kind of goes beside the district office right now. That's the back. So the idea, what you're seeing here is the height. So it's not going to be this really massive building. It'll still be connected to the same height as a lot of the other houses and trees around there. So for the public, you can see the Brookfield Road and forget the name, Woodfield, or I forget the name of the back road, but you can see that the idea is to show you the height of what we're looking at so that it's not some really massive structure in that neighborhood. So our architecture team is really hearing those to make it really fit well into the community. Bethel Hanbury, we start design work in that in September with our first community meeting for Bethel Hanbury Elementary, September 12th at 5 o'clock at Bethel Hanbury. Once again, it's just feedback session, just hear what the community would like to see at this school. And we're working through E.L. Wright to make sure the site and school's configuration of how that will look, just very still early programming. Stadiums, about 90% on the stadiums complete. We're in the process now of getting close to construction here come November, December after season is over. Those stadiums are going through the value engineering process now, just really making sure we keep it within budget. As you can imagine, there's a lot of wants and needs, and we're really making sure we get what fits into budget right now. So we're working with the architecture staff and the ADs and the principals at the school to really get those stadiums into play. And we're also finalizing our selection for where our turf fields will go. Renovation projects. This what you see here is the renovation for the support service center. Just a new layout for the offices. It's right now a big open spaces, but money there to update that building. Those are all 75% on construction documents with work to be done starting in January. And then once the Killian Bus Hub, actually did bids today for the Killian Bus Hub, so work will start 10 days if there's no appeals, and then we can start working on the Killian Bus Hub then to transform over to the support service center. So the Killian Bus Hub staff can get out, the special needs staff can leave, and our IT department, that's at Brookfield and Tex, can move into our big warehouse space. Big thing is we got all of our buses except for two. They're on the way. So those are our brand new Richland 2 yellow buses. You can see on the side, it's hard to see a little bit, but it does say Richland School District 2. I was telling the cabinet the other day that they really smell like a new car too. It's really kind of cool. They actually are brand new. So we're finalizing putting the cameras on those buses right now. And getting the radios and all that, et cetera. They'll initially start as activity, but as we finalize our routes over the next few weeks with new riders, et cetera, we'll be able to fill in the gaps of where we need to fill in the gaps to help making sure our kids get to school on time. But as a reminder, we're phasing those buses in over a 3-year period so that we have kind of a relocation cycle. Do you want to have a question now, Dr. Johnson?
Are these buses
They are air conditioner, yes, ma'am. I have an inside picture. Couldn't fit on there, but you can see the air conditioner units, so.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am, sure are. And they're different sizes. And then our cameras, we've been working, IT and operations and security have been working real hard together to come up with a really good camera solution. And our IT display projects is ongoing. A few bumps in the road. We're pretty sure that our old whiteboards were put on the wall with the strongest glue ever, and they probably put glue on the entire backing instead of corners. So it's just taking a while to get the old displays off. But it's a work in progress. So they're getting there. And just a reminder to you all and to the public, our website, richland2.org /about/facilities. You can find all this information. Our communications office is doing a great job of keeping everything up to date. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Board members, questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Shad.
Dr. Davis and Mr. Anderson, are you all getting any type of report from the generals as to the level of minority participation with the project so far?
We haven't gotten too much into construction just yet. So right now, it's still majority of our work is with our designers on our large projects. For our security projects,
Right.
we had one company bid. We had, so there's who's mostly doing the work on those security projects. And then we've, the roofing projects, I don't remember off the top of my head what the participation is, but once we really get into more of the subcontracting work, we can start providing those more reports on our minority work. But right now, we're so low in the amount of work in terms of the big work we're doing. We don't really have many contractors, but as soon as we do, that's still a very high priority for us, and our architects and design teams understand that.
How will you be able to monitor what they're doing? Are they giving you, is the plan to give you regular reports?
So as our
on the
construction
subs?
management, as our construction management at risk contract we have with all of our contractors for a lot of these projects, they have to provide us with the subcontractors and the different contractors they're going to be using, because we like to think of them as the construction management firm that oversees all of the work. And so the masonry work, the plumbing, we really have final say in who we can select. And so they understand that they just can't say we're using so-and-so. We have say in who they select as subcontractors. But all of them know from the very beginning, we've had some things we want to make sure is in play. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And it's a great report, by the way. Dr. Davis, just a request from me in the interest of transparency, since we are providing this webpage, which shows the progress that's being made, I would appreciate it if we have a tab in there that shows the percentage of minority participation so folks can compare month to month. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Any other board members, questions or comments?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Agostini.
I have a question. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, so much for your presentation. And I also want to thank you for reminding the public about where they can go, because I've had a few texts sent to me wanting updates, and I have referred them to the webpage. So thank you for doing that. My question is in regard to the roof replacement. You stated that it's going to take 8 months to do these roof replacements. What type of impact will that have on instruction at the schools?
They've been, just like with all of our contractors, they have to work around our school schedule. So nights, weekends, during the day, but during, they provide all the schedules to the class. So there will be some minor disruption. Unfortunately, that's going to happen. It'll happen when we start doing some major renovations at our schools, such as when Blythewood starts in January. There will be some bumps in the road, but the plan is to work very closely with the school to make sure that if there's any major disruption, we need to, or to avoid any major disruptions. But the goal is to work nights, weekends, and other times. The only problem with that is it is more of a premium to work then, so we do want to make sure we are keeping the taxpayers in mind of trying to save costs as we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Anderson, just 2 questions. One, for the public meetings, how are we advertising those? Are we going to some of the groups that, like the Bethel Hambury group that was interested in the renaming? Have we
The principals at both of those schools have sent out mass emails and flyers and invites to their school community. So they have, I know for the Forest Lake one, they've sent it to the Forest Lake Rotary. I've actually had an email from the mayor of Arcadia Lakes. And so they're reaching out to their community, but we can be happy to follow up with to make sure that those communities we heard from last year are invited to these informational
Yeah,
sessions.
some of the ones that were just real active and vocal about a couple of the schools, if we can just make sure we engage them. And then the other thing on the athletic facilities is just a request of mine to make sure that our athletic trainers are being listened to if they have needs related to that.
They've definitely been, yes, sir. They have been involved, yes, sir.
Wow, okay. I guess I stepped in something, but anyways.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. No, we've heard from them loud and clear. So.
Very good. I appreciate that. All right, with no other questions or comments, we will move on to the next item, which is 9.2. Again, no action requested. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, we have before you, Dr. Franklin will come and share with you for old business, no action requested, policy revision, BCB, board member conflict of interest. We brought this policy before to you all last week and made the necessary adjustments as requested by the board and represented it to you for first reading.
All right, board members,
Dr. Frank.
can I have a motion?
I believe
Oh,
this is no
sorry.
action requested.
Wow, that's terrible. I'm sorry. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Agostini.
Thank you. The first section where it says, the second paragraph, a board member may not provide services or sell products to the district or to individual staff. So does that mean if I had a lemonade stand and somebody drove by, I could not sell them a teacher lemonade? If I owned a restaurant, could I not service or have a teacher come in or a staff member from the district come into my restaurant because I'm providing a service?
I think the intent of this is like educational services. So for example, if you were a consultant, an education consultant, you couldn't consult in Richland too. Dr. Davis.
Yeah, I'll try to provide some clarification on that. It doesn't, the intent of it is if you're selling directly to schools or school districts for the profit of your business. So if a teacher chooses to come into your place of business to purchase something outside of the school or school district, that would be okay. But you as a board member or I as an administrator could not sell my services because you have an undue advantage as a provider to have a captive audience to be able to come into a school to sell or deliver goods or services at the school level. However, if you had a business and they chose to purchase something from you at your lemonade stand or at your restaurant on their own time outside of school hours, then it would be okay.
Now, I don't have a motion, but can we somehow get that reflected in that sentence as it's school related? My concern was personal. I teach swimming lessons in my backyard, and as it turned out, I probably had a half dozen Richland 2 teachers, and it's all referral based, come to me this summer. Me looking at that policy leads me to believe that I'm providing a service and making a profit from staff. So I would like to just see somehow reflected back to state that, it's school related.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Shad.
I would move that we amend the second paragraph to read,
Bless you.
a board member may not solicit their services or solicit the sale of their products to the district or to individual staff.
Okay, motion's been made by Mr. Shad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Agostini. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. And Tamika, is that a hand vote or? Okay, Mr. Shad, is that correct? Okay, we'll have the vote at this time. No? Okay, so it's correct now? Okay. If we can please have the vote with that motion. And please know that Miss Mackey has dropped off. She had other obligations tonight. Who we waiting on? Miss Agostine? All right, motion passes 6 yes and 1 not present. So any other questions or comments on that policy? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 10.1, or item 10, old business action requested, and 10.1, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we're bringing back before you, this is the second reading of both policies, 10.1 and 10.2, approval for policy revisions to ACA, the equity policy, and asking for approval for policy revisions to KI, visitors.
May I please have a motion from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Shad.
I move that we approve policy revision ACA equity and policy revision KI visitors.
Motion's been made by Mr. Shad. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Dr. Holmes. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. Motion passes 6 yes, 1 not present. Next, we will have item 11, new business, no action requested. Dr. Davis.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we are bringing before you for new business, no action requested, policy revisions to policy IMDC, religious observations and displays. Rescind. IMDC is a policy that the School Board Association recommends that we rescind since the contents of IMDC are covered in IHAL, which was approved on August the 13th, 2019. Ms. Gregory stands ready to answer any questions, should there be any.
Board members, any questions or comments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 12, agenda items for the next meeting. Dr. Davis.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, you have before you in your board docs the Tuesday, September the 10th, 2019 regular business meeting. Here at R2I2, we'll call to order at 5:30, going into executive session for the purpose of admissions requests into adult education, student appeals. We'll recess for public session at 6:30. Have an inspirational moment, the approval of the current agenda. We will have special recognitions at 5.1. We'll ask for approval of the consent agenda. We'll have a school focus, which will be Spring Valley High School. Public participation and the legislative update will follow. Items for executive session, voting on executive session items to include student appeals and student admission requests into the District Adult Eds program. Our old business, no action request will be asking the board for their approval of the policies presented tonight, IMDC religious observations and BCB board member conflict of interest with the revised language as suggested by Ms. Agostini, Mr. Shad, and second by Ms. Agostini. We'll have the policy revisions, no action requested for EEAE, which will be bus safety. KLGA school resource officers, IHBF medical homebound instruction, and KDC district-sponsored information media, which will be a new policy. We'll share with you the agenda for the 24th board meeting, as well as any public participation, number 2, should there be one, board and superintendent comments, executive session 2, should there be one, and a second voting on executive session item if needed, and then adjournment.
All right, board members, any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to item 13.1, approval of that draft agenda. If I can please have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Holmes.
I move that we approve the agenda for our next meeting.
All right, motion's made by Dr. Holmes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any further discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. And motion passes 5 yes, 1 no, 1 not present. Next on our agenda, we have public participation number 2. Again, no one signed up, so we'll move on to board and superintendent comments. I'll start at my right and work to my left. Ms. Agostini.
Wow, that was quick. I'm not even
Lightning round.
prepared, but I am. All right. Well, it's nice to see the sea of red here tonight. Welcome back to school. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend a press conference for the introduction of the Resilient Richland at Jackson Creek Elementary alongside Dr. Davis, Mr. Shad, and several district employees. Sarah Fawcett, President and CEO of the United Way of the Midlands, led the conference stating, Resilient Richland aims to reduce the stigma of trauma and equip individuals and organizations with information and skills to build resilience among children and youth who experience traumatic incidents referred to as adverse childhood experiences during childhood and teen years. These include physical, verbal, sexual abuse, and physical and emotional neglect. Within this team, there's going to be a behavior interventionist and a social worker provided for the community. As I stood there at this press conference and listened and looked at the 30+ in attendance, I thought, wow, how refreshing. We have several organizations in our community working together with Richland 2 to address a shared concern and sharing resources. In the past couple of years, we've had different special interest groups stand before us, identifying discipline as their issue, demanding action, and providing no resources. Thank you, United Way, RCPEP, and County Council for partnering with us to identify a need, provide resources, and work together to find solutions for people within the Richland 2 community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Agostini. Next, Dr. Holmes.
I only want to say welcome back, teachers. Welcome back to school. I hope that you have a very refreshing school year. I know you're tired because I'm tired too. It's our first week back. So good luck on the year. I know it's going to be exciting for you. And I'm just so happy. This is the shortest meeting that I have had since we have been here. So I'm ecstatic. So good night.
All right, Dr. Caution Parker.
Thank you. Just again, welcome everyone back to the beginning of the school year. I know it's real hectic. And I have not been out visiting any schools yet, but I intend to do so. And thank you, Mr. Manning. Thank you for this evening.
Oh, wow.
Very short meeting.
Absolutely.
That's a start.
It was a group effort.
That's a start.
Group effort. All right, next we've got Dr. Elkins Johnson.
Just want to welcome everyone back to school. Really had an awesome time going to visit some of the schools on the first day just to see the smiles and the tears of parents, not the students. So just want to say thank you so much for what you do, and just want to encourage our faculty and staff that we need you to give your best every day, because our parents, they send us their very best. Have an awesome school year.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins Johnson. Mr. Shad.
I can't add to what my colleagues have said. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Davis.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, to our faculty and staff in attendance and all of our guests and visitors. We are 1 week into the school year. We kicked off the year, I kicked off the year with a few school visits along with several of our board members. Overall, we're off to a premier start. I will be coming around as usual during the year for visits at each of our schools, hopefully to get two visits in this year per school. There are some changes that our community should be aware of to our calendar. Elementary schools will hold parent-teacher conferences on Friday, September the 27th. This is the first early dismissal day of the year for elementary and middle schools. On Wednesday, October the 16th is no longer an early dismissal day for elementary and middle schools. Middle schools will administer the PSAT on October 16th and will need a full day to make sure that the administration of the test goes smoothly. On Friday, November the 1st is now an early dismissal day for elementary and middle schools. Parent-teacher conferences for elementary and middle will be held on November the 1st. The Med2 Expo featuring a healthcare career fair and healthcare education fair takes place on Thursday, September the 12th here at R2I2 from 5 to 7 p.m. Med2 offers career information for those considering the medical profession. Also on Thursday, September the 12th, the Project CARE Coalition will host the Empowered Voices Speak Town Hall meeting in R2I2 Conference Center from 6 to 8 p.m. A panel discussion will take place on underage drinking, healthy relationships, juuling/vaping, and prescription drug use. And I hope that you all enjoy the upcoming long weekend, which will be for the Labor Day holiday. Be safe and have a great remainder of your week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For my comments, I do have just one thing that I want to comment on, and then I'll let you go, because I've had a number of folks reach out and ask about Dr. Davis's contract and his salary increase this year. And so I just wanted to kind of give a board perspective on where the board as a whole, certainly not every individual, but the board as a whole is on that. When I calculate the district and the size of the district, we're the 5th largest district in the state. Between our bond referendum, our 8%, and our budget, we have nearly $1 billion that Dr. Davis and his team are responsible for managing, which is a huge responsibility when it comes to what all that means. It means all of the staff responsibility. It means all of the food services. It means the academics, facilities and maintenance, transportation, and just many, many things that we could go on and on. The salary where we put him puts him roughly 5th in the state, which we are the 5th largest district when it comes to salary. And I will tell you that Dr. Davis is looked at as an expert across the state. I think the board's very proud of him and how he represents us, not only in the district, but on a state level and on a national level. He's often sought after. Dr. Davis does a lot of reading, well-read, takes his time and tries to understand what's going on, and has really demonstrated to be a great leader, like I said, not just in the district, but across the state and the nation. We typically pay less when we promote from within, which we did. His initial salary was the same as Dr. Ham, and the board feels like that he's progressed tremendously in the time that he's been here with us. We want to make sure that he stays with us. And so the salary is representative of all of those factors and many more. I hope that teachers and other staff will not take that as a slight to you. Trust me, if I could pay you all that, I would. Unfortunately, it just is it's an economic thing. I can tell you, I've seen raises that we give to state employees, and they're not nearly as commensurate. I've been on the board every year. We've given some raise to teachers and staff. So, again, please don't take that as a slight to you, the work that you do in this district. I think the board over and over again repeats how much we appreciate our teachers and all the staff that we have in the district and what you do. But Dr. Davis has a tremendous responsibility, and he's at will. So at any point that the board becomes displeased with him, with the 5-2 vote, we can release him, and he has no recourse to that. So please just understand that's where it came from. And with that, I hope y'all have a great school year. Thank you very much for your time tonight. And I don't know if I get a plaque or something for the shortest meeting ever, but thank y'all very much. Can I? Motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Seconded?
Second.
Okay.